Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of In the Book Garden. And today I'm going to be reviewing Cory Doctorow's Lost Cause. Now I first came across Cory Doctorow about 15 years ago when I read his Little Brother, which is a thematic successor to 1984, Little Brother, Big Brother, and it's kind of all about our surveillance society and what we can do about it. And it's very much a young person's novel. I was already too old to read that when that came out. And Doctorow has an amazing ability to write very prescient sort of youth culture-y type novels, which certainly make me feel very, very old. And Lost Cause isn't really any different. In this novel, it's set in the near future, so about 30 years into the future, and there is a kind of desperate struggle against climate change. Climate change has the world in its grip, and there are lots of displaced people, and it's sort of quite a dystopian view of how things are going to pan out. However, with all Doctorow novels, there is hope, and that hope is through the marriage of technology and I suppose what you might call right-thinking people, or certainly people motivated to make the change that is needed to save the planet, or more specifically save humanity that lives on that planet. So I think the amazing strength of Doctorow's novels is his ability to predict how technology might evolve and how our implementation of it might evolve. I always find it fascinating how he thinks and how he thinks things might pan out. However, I do find that he has a very optimistic view of how these things are going to work out, and it feels very much sort of Palo Alto kind of sort of AI bro type vision of how things will work, everybody working together. It feels a little bit like a sort of commune, a high-tech commune a lot of the time. And I'm not sure, I mean, I'm reading this book in a sort of gloomy UK, I'm not sure how much that's going to roll out across the world. Always seems a very optimistic, kind of utopian view of how technology is going to save us. So he has a very, I think, right-on view of how things are going to go. And I guess that is kind of what this novel is about. The lost cause is not climate change, I would say. The lost cause in this novel are the older generation, probably my generation. So there's an older generation of sort of post-MAGA type people who want things to stay the way they were. And there's a group of younger idealists who are trying to change things. And I would say the Lost Cause is probably my generation. So I will be 80 by the time this book came out, and that's about the age that a lot of the antagonists in this book have reached. So while Doctorow may have some utopian views about how technology might work or how integrating it might save us, the actual world he's depicted is quite dystopian. It's in a grip of horrendous changes from climate change. There's an awful lot of displaced people. And that sets up another interesting observation about sort of current life at the moment. If you live in the UK, you'll know the news is always going on and on and on about immigration and people arriving in this country by boat. And the government are doing what they're trying to do to fix it, but they don't really actually feel like they're fixing the problem. They're just moving deck chairs and trying to show like they're trying to do something and being tough. And actually, there needs to be an awful lot more acknowledgement that as the climate crisis deepens, that there's going to be more and more displaced people looking for places to live. And Doctorow kind of addresses that in a USA perspective of things. It's not much not so much European immigration type stuff, but it's in here and it is something we're going to have to wrestle with as we go forward. So that's an interesting idea. And then how that marries between these sort of idealists. There have been progressive governments in the US in the intervening 30 years. So there's been something called the Green New Deal, which feels a little bit like the extension of the Inflation Reduction Act, kind of promoting green economy and green jobs and that kind of thing, and just general conserving of the planet. And they're very much railed against by these kind of my generation, sort of older, want to keep things the way they were, and I suppose hang on to the last vestiges of power and supremacy that they have. The overall novel didn't quite work for me. I mean, it's always fascinating to read what Doctorow thinks about how things might play out, but the characterisation is a little bit thin. I could not remember what the central character was called, despite the fact his first name is the same as my surname. So he didn't really make much of an impression on me. The other characters they're a little bit ciphers for the ideas, I think, that Doctorow want to portray. This isn't his strongest novel. It's still really interesting. It's packed full of ideas. And I loved certain aspects of it, but overall I'm not sure that it delivered a satisfactory read. Perhaps it's not supposed to. Obviously Climate change is a thorny problem. It's not going to be solved in 400 pages looking into the future. It did offer a glimpse of how we might get out of it, but then also there is the sort of idea that perhaps, as we see time and time again in the way elections pan out and the way ideas pan out, that you have to have the willingness of an awful lot of people, and a lot of people aren't willing to go that way, and perhaps that is the lost cause in the book. So it's not terribly cheerful. If you like Doctorow's work, I would definitely recommend it. If you've never read one of his books, I would probably pick up Little Brother and see what you think of that and explore his work from there. He is a very interesting novelist, and I would recommend his books generally. I just wouldn't start with The Lost Cause. So that's my thoughts on Cory Doctorow's Lost Cause. Let me know if you've read his books before, if you really like them. Let me know what you think of this one if you've read it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are watching, please do consider liking and subscribing. I don't have very many subscribers at the moment. It would be nice to one day get into whopping triple figures, and if so, I would very much appreciate it. So, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the book garden.